Today I have kind of another special talk. I'm doing another talk that for many years I said I would never do. I've done a few of those in the last month. Did a talk on nothing and everything is real and talk on the illusion of time. And these are all topics that I thought I would never talk about. And today I'm going to do another one that I thought I'd never talk about, and that's how do you know how awake you are? And the reason I say I'm hesitant to talk about this, I say this again and again, is the egoic mind can take a hold of this as some kind of goal or expectation, and of course it can cause more suffering than it is helpful. But this week I did get a few questions about the nature of awakening and how to know if it's unfolded within you. And it's a topic I haven't addressed, as I said, because it has the potential to set it up as a goal for attainment that the egoic mind can then, grasp at. So with this warning, again, let's proceed anyway, but please take that warning to heart. So the information can be useful if it's held lightly and not set up as some goal or expectation. So people go through various stages of awakening. It's really a process of increasing amounts of the ego falling away. And then when it's completely fallen away, it can be said that one is enlightened or awakened to truth, to what constitutes reality. I've found in my teaching that people actually often underestimate the degree to which awakening is unfolded within them. We tend to underestimate it. I've heard many people say, I've been meditating for a decade or 2 decades and nothing's really changed. So the process is so gradual that many of us don't notice the shifts. And one way to see is to ask people that are close to you if you've changed in the last 10 years or 2 years or 1 year or whatever. Just ask them. Ask them that question. Have you noticed any shift in the way that I relate to you? I think I've told this story before, but many years ago, I think I'd been practicing for some years at that point. It was kind of pretty new to the practice and was having those thoughts that, I've been at this, geez, I spend, an hour every day meditating and I still feel kind of the same. And then we were driving down the street one day, my wife and I, and she just out of the blue said, I really like this meditation thing you're doing. And I said, oh, really? Why is that? She says, well, you don't blame me for stuff nearly as much. So I thought, well, that's progress, right? Not blaming. So there's a pause sometimes in that reactive nature. So the people closest to us can often see these shifts that we don't necessarily see ourselves. So that's why I say we often underestimate the degree to which reactivity has fallen away, which is really a beginning key indicator of the ego falling away or being transcended in those moments. So try that. See what the people around you say. So I'm often also asked, is there a way to tell the degree to which awakening has occurred? Is there a way to tell? So in this talk, I want to kind of detail sort of what full and partial awakening looks like, how it evolves and matures, and how to know if it's occurred. At the end, I'm going to give you kind of a simple test, And this simple test might give you some indicators of how much of the ego has been let go of, or if awakening has actually occurred. So when we use the phrases spiritual awakening or enlightenment, it often triggers all kinds of different images in the mind, different thoughts, different interpretations for each individual. However, the terms do have a very specific and profound meaning. Awakening goes beyond kind of a mere surface level change. So to say that somebody is awakened, it involves a real transformative revelation, you could say, that shifts our identity from one of a mind-centered or a ego-centered perspective to a deeper understanding of our fundamental nature. So it's that deep, complete falling away, you could say, of the ego-centered perspective or the egoic self. I recently posted a video about what not to do to awaken. I think I posted it a few days ago. And basically it said that it's not about the books we read or the depth of our meditation even, or the teachers that we might have, but rather how much of the self-identification has been let go of. That's the bottom line. And one person commented in the comments section that this is useful advice for an advanced practitioner, but what about the person that's deeply asleep and who can't awaken in the present moment? And there's some truth to this comment. It's important to have some degree of, what could we call it, psychological awareness, psychological steadiness. And that might require some individual therapy. Might involve some of that individual work, working through past traumas and so forth. But having said that, awakening is available to all of us. Now, many of us are deeply asleep in the present moment because we haven't heard the teachings, we haven't heard the truth directly. And therefore we never even take the step to surrender into our deeper essence. We never even take the step to let go of the egoic reactivity that's there. So hearing the teachings and then practicing them is really the foundation and the fundamental basis for this kind of awakening. It's the core of this transformative shift that I'm speaking about. It's really important also to recognize that this shift is not a standardized experience. It's not the same for everyone. It unfolds differently for each of us. And this is really important to understand. Individuals will experience kind of partial awakenings as the constraints of the egoic self kind of fall away piece by piece. It's kind of like just the metaphor of the Pink Floyd, The Wall. I don't know if people know that record, but I remember going to their concert and the wall just kind of piece by piece fell away throughout the concert. And when I saw that, I thought, wow, for me, that was really representing the ego falling away, the wall between ourselves and our true nature falling away piece by piece. And when the wall completely falls away, there's a full realization of our interconnectedness and our unity, and a real connection with what I sometimes call the collective consciousness, this deeper intelligence that we access at this level. At this point, the individual is completely liberated from the constraints and limitations of egoic thinking. And there's a profound shift in perception and compassion and wisdom. So we all experience these partial or temporary awakenings. They're often called glimpses or tastes. They come in the form of spiritual insights. Those aha moments when the mind is free of clutter, and these insights there's a space for them to arise into it. And for many of us, we'll have these deep insights. I can remember, running home from being on a walk and running into the house, and Vida, was my wife. I had this insight about impermanence. Nothing's permanent. Everything's in flux. And she goes, yeah, so what, right? This doesn't sound. It doesn't sound as kind of earth-shattering when you just put words to it. But there is this deep sense of insight, and they feel like they diminish over time, right? Yeah, you've all had these insights, and then you think, yeah, that was 10 years ago I had that insight on impermanence, and it just doesn't seem to be as impactful as it was when it occurred. And that's natural. It's kind of how it unfolds, but it can leave us with a sense of kind of disappointment or frustration that we kind of had something and then we lost it. The old I had it and I lost it thoughts of the mind. So it's important to recognize that these traces of awakening always remain, even if the insight seems a distant memory. And when we find ourselves, desiring for a stabilized state of awakening, it's essential to let go of any grasping or clinging. Clinging to these past awakenings, these past insights. If we look, we can really see that these insights haven't completely vanished. There's still a trace. And that we can actually abide in and cultivate the growth of these insights. And recognizing too that awakening is not just an internal process. It's not all about what's changing internally. It's actually, I look at awakening as a verb that continues as we engage in the world. It's all about how we then take that and embody it with the complexities and challenges of the world, of humanity. And as an insight occurs, we look at how can we embody this and in our actions in the world. So that's a really powerful way to abide in and cultivate these insights as they occur. Looking at how we actualize this is another way, I guess, to put it. Usually the word is embody. How we embody these in our actions in the world. In the early Buddhist teachings, the Theravada teachings, there's a progression of 4 stages, also known as the 4 stages of enlightenment. And the first stage is called stream entry. I love this notion of stream entry. It's like, the stream you enter is actually more like a river, I think, because you enter it and you are swept down. Picture yourself entering water flowing. You're no longer kind of in control, right? Once you're a stream entry, the process of truth unfolding is just happening as you kind of fly down this. For me, it felt more like flying down. It can feel like floating down a river as well. At this stage, a person has had a clear glimpse of ultimate truth as a stream enterer. And really importantly is there's an unshakable confidence in the teachings. So one of the five hindrances, one of the fifth one is doubt. So doubt is completely extinguished at this point. There's a real unshakable, deep knowing that the teachings are taking you towards reality and truth. And there's a complete abandonment of any attachment to ego-based identification. So there'll still be desire and ill will still remain at this stage, likely at a very reduced state, but those will still be experienced. But there's this deep confidence in the teachings, and a lot of the ego has fallen away at this point. In Zen Buddhism, I really love the way they portray it. It's the 10 ox herding pictures. And it's literally 10 pictures of oxes, which illustrates spiritual awakening. And the third picture involves truly seeing the ox. Truly seeing the ox. And here the individual glimpses the ox. And then this symbolizes the direct experience or realization of their essential nature. And then all the other stages, subsequent stages, involve process of kind of taming the mind and body and aligning with reality and completely transcending any duality, including the notion of even that of a meditator, or there being an ultimate reality. So those are two of kind of my favorite. Of course, the Tibetans have their different stages of emptiness, as it's often called. There's other ones out there, but those two I find helpful as kind of seeing, perhaps where one might be in the unfolding. And again, not taking that to say, okay, well, I'm at stage 3 and I've been doing this for 40 years, what a loser. Or, I've been doing this for 5 and it looks like I'm at the 5th picture already, I'm great. So it's not meant for that kind of egoic comparison. It's just kind of say, okay, this is what's unfolding. And I've fallen into the stream. That's how I kind of look at it. And I'm going down the stream, and this is kind of where things are at. This is how things are unfolding. And this is really how I like to put it. How is awakening unfolding within you? That's how I like to put it that way, instead of how much have you attained, really. You hear that word attained. It sounds like something you need to then do and to get. The doing is coming here to Sangha, doing your practice, hearing the teachings, doing your practice. That's all. If there is any doing, that's your doing. Better get going if I'm going to give you the simple test. So here's the simple test that you might try to determine how awake you are. We'll play around with this and see if it works. Bring your attention to a sound in your environment. Could be any sound. Now ask yourself, where do you believe that sound is? Another way of asking is, do you believe that you are here, center stage, and that the sound is out there happening to you? Do you believe you're hearing a sound that's out there, separate. And when you ask these questions, what happens? Does the mind jump in, explaining the sound? It's a bird, it's a car, and you're here listening to the bird or the car. Or is the sound just simply received as a sound without any necessary narrative from the mind? Is there a realization that it doesn't have any location and it's not happening to a you, a self? Another way the experiment might unfold is that the mind might produce commentary that says, you're not awake. You haven't realized truth yet. So that's why you think the sound is out there and you're in here. Or other commentary might be things like, you've discovered the truth of reality, and there is no sound, and there is no hearing, and there is no one hearing it. But it's just a thought, it's not a realization. It could just be coming up as a believed thought, coming from the egoic mind, an ego that wants enlightenment, which is a most dangerous thing. So the existence of any of the above commentary does not necessarily mean profound awakening is not unfolded within you. The fundamental question is, do you believe the mind's commentary, or is the commentary seen as simply arising? An awakened person or a partially awakened person would be much more in tune with the gaps between the thoughts rather than the thoughts themselves. Right? The gaps. There's a gap between the thoughts that's that silent space. So there'd be no sense of needing the mind's commentary for confirmation of what is unfolding. You'd sense into that partially awakened or awakened person would sense into the space between the sounds and thoughts, and would feel the aliveness of the hearing. This is similar to the Buddha's teachings to Bahiya. One of my favorites is that Bahiya, when he went to the Buddha and wanted to he wanted to become enlightened right away. He's like, give me a teaching that's lickety split. I want this fast, like do something quick. And of course the Buddha, you always have to ask 3 times, and he was persistent, asked 3 times, and the Buddha gave him this teaching. This is the teaching that he offered as his kind of fast track, I guess you could say, to awakening. He said, Bahiya, you should train yourself thus. In the seen, there is only the seen. In the heard, there will merely be what is heard. In the sensed, there will be merely what is sensed. In the cognized, there will merely be what is cognized. Practicing in this way, Bahiya, there is no you in connection with that. When there is no you in connection with that, there is no you there. When there is no you there, you are neither here nor there, nor in between the two. Just this is the end of suffering. So to the awakened person, there's only the hearing. That was a teaching to Bahiya. In the heard, there's only the hearing. So there's this hearing occurring hearing unfolding. There's no location. There's no person hearing it. And there's nothing emitting the sound. In the hearing, there is only what is heard. There's only the suchness of the moment, to use a term from the Buddha's teachings, the suchness, the thusness, or as Suzuki Roshi put it, things as it is. Things as it is, although not grammatically correct, it captures the essence of reality, simultaneously one seamless reality with all these unique, infinite manifestations of things. It's the suchness. Yeah, I'm still hearing the birds outside. It's the sound that. So when you hear the sound, even language places it in a duality, right? There's simply hearing unfolding.